So welcome again, everyone, to the satsang with Cate. So last night, as I was saying before, I get guided what to bring into the group. I'll just listen. These days I'm not even asking, it's just coming in. It's just like a stream, it's just coming in all the time. It's like it's all opened up. It's been open for a long time, and it's just whatever needs to come through just comes through. Whereas for a long time I had to stop and ask. So what we're really, as part of A Course in Miracles teachings, we're asked to get in touch with his inner guide. So we have an inner guide. The Course calls it the Holy Spirit. It doesn't matter what you call it. Some people call it angels. It doesn't really matter what name you give it to it. It's really something that you feel when you're connected to it. It could be Jesus, it could be Buddha. When you're connected to that voice, that wisdom, it's transforming your mind. It has a transformation, which we call the miracle. So the Course calls it a miracle because when the mind that we live in is based in a mind of separation. And so we're using this wisdom to help change our mind. And we're told we can't escape from this egoic mind that we made because we've blocked off the truth. We're scared of it. We think we did something wrong, so we've blocked it off. And we're trying to seemingly escape from what we thought we did. So we're trying to live in this other mind and try to make sense of it, whereas it was made by our mind to be a place where we can never find happiness, never find peace, never find joy, never find the infinite love that we had before, but we're searching. So we're searching and searching and searching and never finding. And then there's this moment where we say, there must be a better way. What's going on? Nothing's working for me. And so in that moment, in that sort of prayer of our heart, something comes through. It could be just that you meet somebody and they say something, or you remember something from the past. Someone might have mentioned A Course in Miracles, or you may have seen something. So the Holy Spirit, knowing that you've reached that stage where you're like giving up, he'll bring in something into your mind, like an echo, just, hey, look at this, talk to this person, go here. He's going to direct us. So we each have our own individual curriculum and also path. We use different teachers. We use different parts of the course for our forgiveness. But the Course talks about forgiveness, and forgiveness is anything you do to transform your mind. So you could repeat a lesson, you could you can have the Holy Spirit or your guide bring something in, a word or a phrase, or you might just get silent, sit in meditations, just quieten your mind. If you give over your life to have your mind transformed, he calls it the mind training, because you have to train your mind to think with your guide. So the guide's going to bring in the truth, and then that truth is then going to be the mind in which you live. So it's a journey of no distance, because you're going from the wrong mind to the right mind, and there's no distance in that. And then eventually, when your mind is transformed back to wholeness, because you've let go, you've given up this idea of separation, you've practiced these things that the Course has asked us to do, we then enter. He says God takes the final step, but it's really that there's nothing between God and ourselves. And God is not what we think of as a God in religion. We're coming to know what God really is. and it's an experience. It's not an entity. It's actually an experience already in our mind, right here, right now. It's right here. There's nowhere to get to it, but we've got blocks. So the Course is, Jesus is telling us the way to get home is the blocks are our beliefs. And he knows we don't want to give up these beliefs. We don't want to give up the world. We don't want to give up the seeking. We don't want to give up the body identification. But we're not asked to straight away. We're just motivated to say, is this making you happy? Is this making you happy? And if it's not, perhaps there is a better way. So he's really gently directing us to gently accept these small corrections. So we just accept on a daily basis these small corrections, which he calls forgiveness and the miracle. So the miracle is when we change our minds, have a different perception, and have then natural expressions of love. So the miracle is really all about our mind. It's the word miracle and forgiveness and atonement. They're all given different meanings in the Course. So if you're a new student, you have to have these words, the meaning of these words change so you know the context of it in the teaching. So sometimes for the first certain period with the Course, we have to let go of that it means at one-ment or anything like that. We have to let go of that and say he means correction. He means I have to desire a different perception because I'm realising that how I'm perceiving, which I don't even know at the particular time when we start the Course, that we're perceiving through the egoic mind, the egoic thought system. He says the ego is a thought system. And then he says, I can only be affected by my thoughts. That's the only thing that can ever affect me is my thoughts, nothing else. So therefore, I have to have my thoughts changed. And what my thoughts do is they create a meaning. They've got a story. They create a self-concept. So he uses thoughts, beliefs, self-concept, perception, all sort of mixed together. So our journey is to have our perception changed. So if you read the instructions for the workbook, he just says you won't understand this because it's getting changed in another area of your mind. So our ego mind is reading the lessons. And he says your understanding is not necessary. It's not needed. What's really required is for us to do them as we're asked to. Just do them. And through the doing of it, we come to have an experience. And that experience leads us to a knowing that we're on the right path and that it is leading us to love. It is leading us back home to a tranquil mind. So the goal of the Course is peace, a peace that passeth understanding. It's joining back to the true home that we have available in our minds now. And really what the biggest issue for us is, are we willing to be wrong about what we're seeing? And sometimes it can take a little while for us to be willing to be wrong and have another perception. So we can't force it. We just have to sort of know or have the motivation that if we know that we will have this beautiful, peaceful mind, this tranquility and this joy that can motivate us. And so the lesson, I want the peace of God, is really asking us to take that lesson and say, this is my goal. I want the peace of God. So if I want the peace of God above all else, then I will be willing to, no matter how strong the ego identifies unfair treatment, then I'm willing to let go of that. I'm willing to have it changed. That's all he says. Our part is a very small part. Our part is just to say, look, this is what I'm in. I'm really stuck in this, really closed into this idea that I was unfairly treated, and I am unfairly treated, and I'm going to be unfairly treated, right? So the ego uses that it's happened in the past, it's happening now, and it's going to continue happening. So this is what we're being shown, that we have a belief in unfair treatment. And that's going to be my talk today. I'm leading into that particular terminology in the course, which he uses quite a bit, unfair treatment. So it's all intertwined with guilt and fear from what we experienced in that moment, where the mind, that we had the tiny mad idea, but generally where we're sitting now, when we're in an ego mind, we've lost that awareness that we had a thought to, what would it be like to be, having our own identity, or some tiny thought. Now, it's impossible for the Christ mind, the Son of God mind, to have that thought. But it seemed to have happened, and then it seemed to have caused an idea of separation. And I won't go through the steps, but there's plenty of teachers that highlight these steps, and the course shows us where it is. But you will on your journey get to that awareness. You'll see very clearly as you move more into the decision maker. You'll be looking on how the ego works. You'll be coming from a place of looking at the ego, and you'll see how it's choosing separation. You'll see how last week I said it was like a thought-making machine, and you'll see its thoughts of separation. So this talk today, I'm going to be talking and reading a little bit about what Jesus is talking about, this unfair treatment. And remember, this is all ego, and this is what we have to be willing to let go of and have changed if we want the peace. So all we have to do is become aware of the story that we're currently got. So I'm just going to ask you to each, just for a moment, just remember any story you have at the moment about any unfair treatment from anyone, anywhere, anytime. Or it could be just current, or it could be, quite a long, many, many years of this one particular character here that you find it in. So this is what I was guided to read out today in the group. And just let me know if you can't hear me, because I don't have my earbuds in. I don't have a little microphone. So if I'm not even sure where the microphone is, or if I'm blocking it. So someone wave their hand if all of a sudden you can't hear me because I put the book on the microphone or something. So I'm going to change glasses so there's no reflection. These are my non-reflective ones. Okay, so this is the start of chapter 27, and I'm reading from this textbook. I don't know why it was just here, so I'm reading from it. But most of the versions are the same in this. Anyway, this is what I'm reading. So chapter 27, the body and the dream. The wish to be unfairly treated is a compromise attempt that would combine attack and innocence. So when we feel unfairly treated, so if you can just sort of go back and feel these feelings, think about the person that you think is unfairly treating you, and feel into how you feel attacked by them. Now, when I'm using the word attack, we usually think in the ego's world as attack as somebody like bringing a knife and stabbing us or something. But the way the Course uses attack is feeling like somebody's not doing the right thing. They're doing something and they're like persecuting us or expecting something from us or being very unloving. So we're really we want to go into, we don't want to cover over this, we want to look at it, because the only way to have it healed is to look at it. He says we have to bring the darkness to the light. So at the moment, we're just going into the darkness because we don't want to turn away from darkness. We want to face darkness and shine the light on it. So in the past, whenever we've faced darkness, we've not brought the light with it. So every time we do, it feels awful and terrible. We want to close it down and we want to separate from the person. We want to get as far away from them as possible and separate big time from them. And what comes up behind it is a deep hatred. So it's not our hatred, but it feels like our hatred. We feel it is my hatred, but we're going to eventually see that that hatred is not ours. We're just going to see that, but at the moment, where we're at, if you're in this feeling of being unfairly treated, these are the way home. So I'll just jump in here now, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to, as we go through this reading from the Course, I'm just going to, as I said, ask you to look at this, bring it up in your mind, and then we're going to guide it to a meditation to have the undoing of it, okay? So we're not just going there to look at it, we're going there to look at it and then have the remedy. So we don't push it down. Usually what we do is we don't look at anything. Jesus asks us to search the cornerstones of our mind. In other words, like hunt out all this unfair treatment, everything that we feel, and bring it to the light. So the ego says it's too horrible, it's too terrible, push it down and just separate, and hatred is normal. And so we're doing the opposite. We're turning around and we're bringing it up, but in a safe way. We're saying, I'm bringing up this darkness today. I'm bringing up this feeling of unfair treatment to release it and have it healed. But first of all, I have to see it as what it is. So he's asking us to see that this feeling of unfair treatment has in it the idea of attack. So you could say for example, I'll just give with my dad, because I had to do most of my forgiveness on my dad, that he really helped out in this lifetime. His character helped out my sister financially. And whenever I went to ask for some help financially, he said no. And I couldn't understand that. And I felt so unfairly treated that I really went down into a deep, dark hole of unfair treatment. And the only way to really come out of that was to use these teachings to have that changed. So all we have to do is have a little willingness. So the feeling I got when I was in that egoic mind finding unfair treatment, I felt attacked by him. Now remember, attack isn't with a physical attack. It's feeling, it is actually the feeling of unfairly treated. Like I'm condemned by him, I'm unloved by him, I'm maybe even hated by him, right? So I'm talking about how I felt about my dad, but actually what's underneath all this is my experience, my relationship with God that's playing out here with my dad. But I'm not recognising that at that stage when I'm feeling unfairly treated by him. I don't have the awareness that actually it's my fear of God, and my fear of God doesn't love me. And so it's coming through. My dad doesn't love me. And the combination of the attack and innocence. So what happens is I feel unfairly treated, I feel attacked, and then I feel I'm a good person. I'm so unfairly treated, I'm really nice, I do all these nice things, and so I cover up all the areas where I'm unloving, nasty even, judging others, and I forget all that in that moment, and I tell myself I'm this poor innocent person that is unfairly treated, and I'm innocent. So we have to look at what we're doing in those moments. We have to see it. We have to sort of step back and look at what we do, and by looking at it, we can get it healed. So who can combine the wholly incompatible and make a unity of what can never join? Walk you the gentle way, and you will fear no evil and no shadows in the night. But place no terror symbols on the path, or you will weave a crown of thorns from which your brother and yourself will not escape. You cannot crucify yourself alone. And if you are unfairly treated, you must suffer the unfairness that you see. You cannot sacrifice yourself alone, for sacrifice is total. If it could occur at all, it would entail the whole of God's creation and the Father with the sacrifice of his beloved Son. So if you try to combine attack and innocence, when you're living in that attack and innocence, you're totally closed off to the unity, and you can never join with your brother in that. So he's really just saying you actually don't crucify yourself alone. You're suffering the unfair treatment that you see, and you're not joining or having the experience of unity. In your release from sacrifice is his made manifest. So generally what happens, so when I felt really unfairly treated by my dad many times, and I lived in it, and the ego brings in depression and anxiety and suffering, what happens is you then, because you feel you're so innocent, you then retaliate and you attack back in some way. And we can all know what we do. We either call the person up and give them a piece of our mind and attack back, or we might withdraw and not speak to them. So I withdrew from my dad, and I didn't speak to him for about 2 years. And what we come to see is the ego says the solution to the unfair treatment is to separate. But what we can notice is when we choose that as the answer, it never makes us feel joyful, because we're not joining in true communication with our brother. We're not seeing the innocence and the purity of our brothers and joining with them. And when we're in that state, it's really horrible. It really is. There's a lot of suffering. It's torturous on our minds. We're really living in hell and we feel guilty. So we withdraw from them. We justify our anger and our attack. Then we also suffer a lot of guilt for what we're doing. So there's a lot of, that's what hell is, that guilt and attack and defense. So Jesus is really just trying to get us to really look at all those aspects that are in our mind. This is the ego mind, and that's why it's hell. Every pain you suffer, do you see as proof that he is guilty of attack? This would you make yourself to be the sign that he has lost his innocence. So when we say he's guilty of this attack on me, we're not seeing his innocence, are we? If we believe someone's guilty of something, we're not in an awareness of the innocence. So I'll read that again. Thus would you make yourself to be the sign that he has lost his innocence and need but look on you to realise that he has been condemned. So our brother sees that we're condemning him in some way or another because we're not joining him, we're not talking to him, or we've said something unkind. And what to you has been unfair will come to him in righteousness. So he's then going to feel righteous in what he said or did to you. And he's also going to feel that he's the innocent one that got attacked by your response. The unjust vengeance that you suffer now belongs to him. And when it rests on him, are you set free? So this is he's talking about how the ego works, right? So we think the unjust vengeance that we suffer, so the vengeance that we think our brother's giving us, we feel it's unjustified. We think, I'm the innocent one. He or she should do this, this and this. And we say it belongs to him and that it rests on him and that we're set free by his guilt. So we say he's the guilty one and I'm set free because I'm set free in this idea of innocence. Now, my true self is innocence, but this is what he's calling the face of innocence, which is the ego. It's the face of innocence. It's all tied up. We have to look at what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we have to see that it doesn't work. It doesn't bring us happiness. It doesn't really connect with the innocence that we are. So there's no escaping this pain and hell when we're living in this unfair treatment. And this is the ego's thought system. And it's always bringing up this idea that we're unfairly treated. It finds it everywhere. So wish not to make yourself a living symbol of his guilt. In other words, I'll finish this sentence and then I'll just expand on it a bit. Wish not to make yourself a living symbol of his guilt, for you will not escape the death you make for him, and in his innocence you find your own. So that's just the first two paragraphs of that section. But what we have to look at, so what I was guided to look at on my journey of undoing this unfair treatment was to see how much I told myself, which was the ego, that everything that went wrong in my life was because of him. It was became apparent after a while. I didn't realise I was doing it until I became aware of the thoughts that just said, well, that's why no relationship works out, because you had an unloving dad. If I had have had a dad like such and such, like I'd pick somebody that seemingly had a loving father, a loving dad, I kept living in this, I'm being unfairly treated in this lifetime. Why did I have this dad given to me? And we then make ourselves a living symbol of his guilt. Now, what happened was I ended up going to a psychiatric ward for 2 weeks because I was suicidal. And when I was there, one of my sisters told my dad, and I didn't say anything to her, but she went to him and she said, Kate's in the psychiatric ward and you're to blame. And I was horrified when she told me that. And he then got really vengeful and said some really horrible things about me to her, which she then told me. And it was like adding fuel to the fire for me. And I really felt at that stage overwhelmed by this attack. But there was a little part of my mind at that stage that was saying he is just trying to justify it. He feels really guilty. We were both very unkind and unloving to each other. I had to take responsibility for that and change, have my mind changed. So I just had a different perception of him. So what I was doing in that state, I was a living symbol of his guilt. So when I went to the psychiatric ward, I was a living symbol, because remember, we all have this guilt of our unloving acts. The ego ramps it up. It just said, so he would have been so racked with guilt at not helping me when I just went and asked for some help. He has to then project back on me. But always remember that all this guilt that's playing around in this dream lifetime is these symbols of the guilt from what we think we did with God. It's all traced back to that. But if you, at that particular time, I couldn't reach back there. So you have to forgive the guilt that you have in your relationships. And eventually the mind opens to that it's about God. And when he says, for you will not escape the death you make for him, in the Course, he uses death in a way, he calls death our depression and anxiety. And so it's a way of looking at this death I make for him. In other words, I really actually want to murder him. I'm feeling attacked, so I'm attacking, the ego's attacking back, and it really wants his death. And I did. I literally would just be thinking, and even said to people, I just want him to die. So I'm laughing because, I just feel so much love for everyone. It feels funny to say that, but that's how the ego works, right? And in his innocence, you find your own. So how do I get back to the peace of God when I'm enmeshed in this, broiled in this story? And the ego brings over and over again these stories back to pick on like a big wound. Let's go here today. Let's think about all this unfair treatment. Let's expand over your childhood and let's amplify, all these different aspects of our lifetime here. And this is not the way to happiness. So forgiveness is the term for the undoing. And so I'm just going to read something out of Ken Wapnick's, and this is a book called Parents and Children, Our Most Difficult Classroom. There's 2 little booklets. It's available on Amazon if you like to get it. It's really good. It's taken from some workshops that Ken did, and he's giving a workshop and he's talking about Bill. Jesus is talking to Bill and Helen about Bill's relationship with his father, and this is what Ken's comment here. Consider how many times we have told and retold incidences from the past, or at least thought about them again and again. It does not have to be a distant past, but something that was done to us yesterday or even this morning. How often do we replay our abuse stories, whether overt sexual, physical, or emotional abuse, or more subtle ones? How much a part of our memories they are. How gladly we pay a therapist good money week in and week out to retell our story over and over again. The very fact that we do this tells us the great importance we place on the event. We do so because, like Bill, we wanted the event to happen. This again does not make us responsible for other people's egos that act out against us. Yet the fact that we never let go of the memory, and indeed often build our self-concept on the foundation of such abuse, reveals that something is rotten in the state of our minds, and that it is not what was done to us. What is rotten is the guilt that says we deserve to have terrible things done to us. And so what Jesus told Bill was a specific application of what he was teaching his first 2 students and all of us in this course. No one is ever justified in seeing oneself as an innocent, unfairly treated victim. If we perceive ourselves that way, referred to again as a temptation, it is because we want to be unfairly treated. Recall this dramatic passage from the workbook about the pathetic figure we all aspire to be. He seems a sorry figure, weary, worn, in threadbare clothing, and with feet that bleed a little from the rocky road he walks. No one but has identified with him, for everyone who comes here has pursued the path he follows and has felt defeat and hopelessness as he is feeling them. Yet, is he really tragic when you see that he is following the way he chose and need but realise who walks with him and open up his treasures to be free? So what these readings and my talk today is about is not to turn away from this unfair treatment, what we deem to be it, but tell ourselves there is another way to perceive this. Perhaps I have been wrong. Holy Spirit, Jesus, I let go of this idea, of this story, and I just come with an open mind to say I want this changed. I decide I don't want to live with this story anymore. The story of this unfair treatment, this guilt I feel, this unloving relationship I have with whoever I'm projecting it onto. I would like this healed. I would like the healing to start. So we just say a prayer of willingness. So I'll just quiet for a few minutes and let you say your prayer, and then we'll go into a meditation that will help. So I'm just going to say a couple of things that I say or have said, and you can just, as I said, feel into your own words, feel what works for you. But it's really, Holy Spirit, I want to be free of all thoughts of being unfairly treated. I want to come to have beautiful, loving, holy relationships with everyone. I want the peace of God above all else. I'm just willing to do what you instruct me to do, open myself to your guidance in what to do and say, how to think about this. I ask you to be in my mind and be the answer. I want to listen to your voice, your ideas, your love. I want you to correct these perceptions and take me away from this living hell. I want to be at peace. I want to have this tranquil mind. And you are the way. So I'm willing to let go of this idea, just open up. Just let go of the story. Be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is. All concepts you have learned about the world. All images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad. Empty your mind of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Empty your mind of all thoughts of unfair treatment, of defensiveness. Let it go. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, or one belief you have learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. Just sit quietly for 5 minutes. If you'd like to, you can just repeat, I hold on to nothing. So while you're just sitting quietly, try to stay as quiet as you can in your mind. Keep your eyes closed if you can. I want you to now take this person or people, whoever it is that you are feeling this unfair treatment, and I want you to simply see their smiling face in front of you. I just see them smiling, looking at you, smiling. I want you to feel a lightness around your relationship. I want you to feel it's easy, so easy being in their presence. It feels effortless. Feel this deep peace. I want you to just see them in a very ordinary situation, maybe in their kitchen, in their lounge room, in the garden, somewhere where you've been with them before. And I want you to just feel this effortless relationship where they're just talking normally about something, just about the weather. And I want to just see you respond with a light laughter, a light response. I want you to feel within you this ease and effortless. This relationship is so easy, so lovely to be around them. I want you to just see them laughing for no reason, just a carefree laughter, not for anything in particular, just laughing. I want you to feel a warmth in your heart as you look at them. You might even feel yourself starting to smile. To see the person be making dinner or something, chopping up some vegetables. It's a very ordinary situation. Just talking lightly about their day, what's going on for them. This is called the happy dream, the happy visualization, the relationship I'd like to have. But I'm now moving into a holy relationship where there's no blocks. If you feel your mind wandering, go back to it just for a few more minutes. It's important. Just keep bringing your mind back to just a really simple image, visualization. Just them laughing. Just talking simply about something that's going on. And maybe they find it funny. Maybe they're watching something on the television and laughing. Just see them afresh. See them differently. Just feel something unraveling inside you. Something softening. You feel some sort of ease about it. I want to feel this lightness and effortlessness around it. We want to now move ourselves to maybe we're with a friend or a family member. And they say, how's your relationship with such and such? And we want to hear ourselves, it's great. It's a really good relationship. We want to hear ourselves talking about a happy, easy relationship. We want to feel there's no story. When we're with someone, there's nothing in our minds that defines anything other than saying it's a great relationship. It's really good to be around him, her. You could even say it's effortless. It's really good. So hear yourself talking about the relationship with someone else and feel it's really good. And these two things can be practiced. These two things that I've just led you to, the visualization of a happy, effortless, holy relationship. Remember, God is love and happiness. So when I'm joining someone in love and happiness, I'm in God. I'm joining them. And the second part, talking to others about the relationship, you're confirming in your mind the truth. And we start to tell ourselves we're not interested in confirming the dead past of the ego. We want to confirm to Jesus, to ourselves, that this relationship is good. Even if it's not quite good right now, we're going to be through these visualizations. So I encourage you to start using the visualization of this person, this relationship, this happy relationship. It's part of rules for decision. Use this and decide now that whenever you talk to anyone, to never speak about the relationship in any other way. I was guided by the Holy Spirit to stop talking to others about the relationship based on unfair treatment and to say, it's very good, thank you. It's lovely. And therefore, I'm teaching everyone around me how to be in a happy, holy relationship. I'm a teacher. I'm going to lead them to see that there is another way of perceiving this person or these people. And I'm going to reap the rewards of that experience. So it ties in nicely with seeing the Christ, seeing the innocence. Because in this effortless, happy beingness, when we see our brother with us laughing and joining, a really simple visualization. We don't have to focus on innocence. It's naturally innocent because there's no guilt there. So it's naturally its opposite. So I was guided to do this visualization with a few people in my life that I had difficulties with. And every relationship got transformed through it. And then as you might find yourself going to see this person or the people that you're doing this with, you need to bring in the other procedure of rules for decision. I make no decisions by myself. So you're visualizing the happy relationship, the effortless, peaceful relationship, the joy, the simplicity. It's really this simple, light relationship, effortless, simple joy, effortless happiness. And then when we do see them, or we have to call them or have some interaction with them, keep doing the visualization. And then the Holy Spirit is then going to be in charge of our responses. So we invoke the Holy Spirit before we call them or go see them. So Holy Spirit, be with me now. You respond. You might want to remember the happy visualization as you move in. What's going to happen is you're going to come into that relationship soft and open and bringing an effortlessness with you, and the relationship will change. This is the miracle. You're going to have a natural expression of love. We've shifted away from the ego's version of the relationship. We're coming into the holy relationship. We want all blocks removed, because these blocks cause us so much pain and suffering. We want to do everything we can to activate the removal of them. So it can just be like little fairies sprinkling love wherever we go. We really want to just be this essence of love. Just let it like fairy dust everywhere we go. Just spreading love, being that peace and love in the world. It's like your heart. Your heart is just huge, it's open and soft. It brings everybody in. Everyone's welcome in this big heart to rest. Now, what I'm feeling guided to do is to just ask if there is anyone here that is experiencing at the moment any strong, just unsettled mind, you could say. You can put your virtual hand up somehow. What we'll do is we'll hold you, the group will hold you in a shared meditation. Just hold you in God's love, envelop you in God's love. Okay, so George has put his hand up, so if you can see that. I think if you go to the 3 dots, the corner of the screen. Anyway, I'm not sure where it is. But you can just do that. Try not to lose this feeling of peace that you've got. Try keep it. Just sit quietly. Okay, so Robin and George. Okay. It's really beautiful to have the group joining together to hold you. It's very powerful. You can have some amazing results with this. So don't feel scared to put your hand up if you want it. It's really lovely. You might all be feeling so relaxed. So peaceful. Okay. Oh, Barbara, okay. So it's good to actually participate in this as a group. So the instructions on this is we're just going to open our mind. We're really not going to know what is going to come in as we focus on the three people that have put their hand up, George, Robin and Barbara. We're going to start with George. Okay, so we do one person at a time. We've done this before, but there's a few people here that haven't done this. So the instruction is just to hold George in your mind and let go. So we're going to focus on his innocence, but you might get something come in that shows you something about him. You might have yourself join him in some way. I don't want to give too much, but just free yourself. This is a way to open up to abstraction of how we're going to hold George's innocence and beautiful and holiness. So we're going to focus in on his holiness, his perfection, his wholeness. So we'll just do George for 3 minutes. Okay. Let's start now. Okay. you may have found yourself having a very unusual visualization. Once you give it over, the Holy Spirit, should be just a feeling of lightness. Maybe you were joining George in some way, hugging him, sitting with him, blessing him, seeing his innocence in whatever way. This helps us all shift into this other mind and stay there for a period of time. If your mind moves away from it, make sure you just consciously move back. It's moving into the holy mind. So I'll now do Robin. So here we go. Okay. Focus on Barbara now. And then I might ask George, Robin and Barbara to just, if they'd like to share what they experienced during this time. So Barbara, we're just going to focus on the absolute perfection of you, the beautiful holy self, gorgeous love of God that you are, as God created you. Thank you. Okay, and just before we ask if anyone would like to share, I'd like for us to just hold this state of mind and hold the group. So if you like to, you've got an option of looking around at the people in the group, or just close your eyes and just hold everyone in the group in your mind and feel this beautiful love surrounding, enveloping this holiness that we are. Now just feel the whole sonship in your mind. Just feel you're part of this whole beautiful sonship of love. Everyone's there, all the holiness, all this infinite love, eternal, infinite joy and happiness, all there. Just feel yourself bringing everyone in to your love. Feel this blessing. I bless you with my holiness. Rest in my holiness. I join you in this beautiful love, this infinite love that envelops us all. So I feel that there's this infinite, eternal love enveloping you. You're joined with it. Everyone's joined in it. And you're part of it. So is everyone else. The same love that's in you is in everyone. There's nothing else. Let the images of bodies disappear from your mind. Just let them go and enter into this love, this effortless being. Feel everyone now. The beauty and divinity of our true self joined. Feel this feeling of gratitude, this infinite gratitude, beautiful love. Feel yourself being lost in it, like just feel yourself that you can't find yourself, and all there is love. There's this love everywhere. You're just part of this beautiful holy love. It's everywhere. There's no part that hasn't got this beautiful love. It's gorgeous. infinite feeling of being lost in this love. It's sort of really hard to come back from that. He always says you'll reluctantly come back to the world. If you reach some state of really spacious, vast awareness and this divine love, it's really hard to get yourself back. I hope you had an experience of something. Oh, I wanted to ask George, Robin and Barbara if you'd like to share about any experience you had.
Well, all I know is that when I came on the call today, I was having an anxiety attack. And right now, it's like it was just a bad dream that went away. So thank you very much. That was a great Valentine's Day present. Thank you so much.
Thanks, George.
I'll I'll just say I felt very supported, and I actually started feeling like everyone was together in my mind. And then when you asked us to do that, it was like it's like I had done that. Like that's what actually felt good, is when I did that too. Like I guess it's that idea of to give is to get. And yeah, I just felt like joined with everyone and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you. Robin?
Yeah, I was finding it hard to feel peaceful beforehand, and I certainly did feel some peace, and that, you know, it's all okay because we are all one, and it's everyone's experiencing the same thing, and it's okay. Thank you.
I was having a message from Jesus as we were doing these meditations. A lot of sun was coming through the window, and there was like leaves. The leaves were dancing around on the desktop, and I was just I'm blessing the group. I'm sprinkling love in the group. I'm just blessing. So he is here, and he was really just saying, I'm here and I'm just blessing everyone. So I felt to share that's what was coming through as we were doing this. It was beautiful. So thank you, everyone. This is the finish of today's satsang and meditation. I hope you had a beautiful time, as I did, joining you in this beautiful love and holiness. And so I'm just going to say, I love you, and I bless you, and I honour you, and I join you in enveloping you in God's love. So you can unmute your microphones if you like, just to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you to everyone. I love you. I bless you. I honor you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Kate.
Thank you,
Love
Kate.
you
That was
all.
Okay, thank
that
you,
was
everyone.
beautiful.
Love
Bless
you.
you.
Kelly.
Everyone.
Bless you
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good week.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Kathy. Kathy Houseman. Good to see you on there. Bye-bye.